He walked under the cold glow of streetlights as if the whole city had agreed to keep his secret. The night air in Istanbul is different when you're famous, it carries whispers. Phones in the distance, a shutter sound that might just be a cat jumping from a wall, or a paparazzo freezing your face forever in a frame you didn't ask for. Can kept walking. Strong shoulders, jaw set, the kind of silhouette that made strangers gasp, yet every step had a weight he didn't show. Under the visor of a cap pulled low, I searched for silence. It wasn't there. Here's the truth people forget, applause is loud, but loneliness is louder. You can hide behind a smile on set. You can lean into a laugh at a press day. You can even turn heartbreak into a good story for the camera, but some nights, the mask slides. Not because you want it to, because it's too heavy to hold. He locked the door behind him, laid his phone face down on the counter, and let the room be small. The kind of small where your heartbeat is the only soundtrack. He didn't turn the lights on. He knew his own home in the dark. He knew where the mirror was too. There are tears the world sees, slick, photogenic, usable. And then there are the tears you try to swallow because you know that once they fall, they won't stop. He leaned over the sink. He wasn't crying. Not yet. He was fighting. Jaw clenched. Breath measured. Don't do it, he told himself like a director whispering a last-minute note before a take. Not tonight. But grief has a way of keeping time you can't hear, and memory plays the cruelest rhythms. People talk about him like he's made of marble, like fame cures the soft parts. But the soft parts remember. A hallway where a familiar perfume used to linger. A corridor outside a dressing room where two people used to meet in a glance that said everything without a script. A night where a promise wasn't spoken, because speaking it would have made it real, and fragile. He closed his eyes against the memory of her voice saying his name, that warm, steady way that never asked for anything and somehow asked for everything. He took a breath, reached for a towel, and, no. He wouldn't cry. He was stronger than that. His phone buzzed. Just once. The shortest vibration can be the loudest alarm in the world. He didn't flip it over. He didn't have to. He knew whose name could still make his chest tighten. He counted to 5. Then 10. A held breath is a kind of prayer. He finally looked. One message. One line. Not a paragraph. Not a confession. Just the kind of simple sentence that knows exactly where to land. He read it twice, 3 times, and felt the sting behind his eyes betray him. He turned the water on, pretending it was only steam making his vision blur. That's how you hide tears, from the mirror, from yourself. But the mirror knows. He wiped his face fast, sharp, like erasing a mistake. Tomorrow, he told his reflection. Tomorrow I'll be fine. But tomorrow is a promise the heart doesn't always keep. Because the message he read wasn't a goodbye. It was worse. It was a question. And questions demand answers, especially the ones you've been running from. He put the phone down. He didn't reply. He thought that was the end of it. He thought he could sleep it off. But 5 minutes later, the phone rang. And that's when the secret tears he'd guarded for so long decided they weren't secrets anymore. The call wasn't loud. It didn't have to be. You can feel certain rings in your bones. He watched the screen light up, watched a name appear that could still unravel the armor he wore to survive. He didn't answer. Not on the first ring. Not on the second. He let it go to silence, and in that silence was everything he never said, and everything she'd been waiting to hear. He told himself he was protecting them both. Protecting the fragile thread that runs between two people who can't afford to be ordinary, who live in stories larger than life but break in ways painfully small. He turned the phone over again, face down, like a small act of courage. Out the window, the city glittered, and somewhere in those lights was a memory he tried not to chase, a balcony where she once laughed so hard she had to wipe tears from the corners of her eyes, the kind of laugh that makes you feel invincible. And then a different night, in a different city, where invincibility cracked. Rome. He had loved Rome for its loudness, its stubborn beauty, the way the streets refused to walk in straight lines. He knew a hotel where the morning light did a gentle miracle on tired faces. He knew a cafe on the corner that served the strongest espresso and the softest silence. In Rome, he could pretend to be anonymous. In Rome, he learned that you can be alone in a crowd and lonelier still when the person you want to sit across from is a continent away. The phone buzzed again, this time a voicemail. He didn't listen. He didn't dare. Instead, he opened the Notes app. Started typing. Deleted it all. Started again. Sometimes the hardest thing in the world is not confessing love, it's confessing confusion. He typed, "I'm not ignoring you." He erased it. He typed, "I don't know how to be the man you remember and the man I am now." He erased that too. How do you put into words that your life was cut into two clean halves, the before and the after, and you can't carry both without dropping one? He thought of the first time he understood that she could read him like a script. The way she'd watch his face when a scene ended, like she was still listening even after cut. The way she noticed the tiny tremble in his hand the day the headlines turned cruel. The way she whispered, "Breathe," when breathing felt like betrayal. He'd learned to hide from everyone else, but never from her. That's the danger, isn't it? The person who sees you becomes the person who can unmake you. He pressed play on the voicemail. Her breath first. Then her voice, steady but soft, "You don't have to call back. I wanted to hear the ring. To know you're still there." He closed his eyes. That sentence found every locked door inside him. He swallowed hard, felt that familiar burn build in a place tears don't belong. He told himself this was just fatigue, just pressure, just the weight of being seen and misseen by millions. He told himself that men like him don't cry, not because they're heartless, but because the world won't let them. He knew it was a lie. He splashed water on his face, turned the music up, tried to drown the evidence. But even over the music, he heard her last word echo, "There." There, like a lighthouse. There, like a seat left open. There, like a promise he thought they'd both stopped keeping. He put the phone down and whispered to the empty room, "I'm here." The room didn't believe him. The mirror didn't either. So he did what he always did, he went to work. On set the next day, laughter was loud, lighting was bright, everyone said perfect when the director said cut. He was perfect. He always is. But perfection is a mask that tightens the more you wear it. And mid-afternoon, between takes, he caught his reflection in a monitor, eyes a little red, smile a little strained, and a wardrobe assistant asked if he'd slept. He nodded. He lied. At lunch, he stepped outside, searching for air. The sky was blinding blue. He wondered if she was looking at the same sky. He typed one word in a new message, "Tonight?" He stared. He didn't send it. The message floated there, unsent, like a held breath. And that's when a photo notification slid across the top of his screen, her face, laughing with someone else. And the secret he'd been hiding broke its first scene. Don't believe anyone who tells you jealousy is loud. It's quiet. It whispers stories you didn't ask to hear and asks questions you can't afford to answer. The photo wasn't scandalous. It didn't have to be. Her head thrown back, sunlight on her cheek, someone's hand in the edge of the frame, not holding hers, just there. But in the space between their shoulders, he saw the truth he dreaded, life had continued. Without him. He told himself he was happy for her. That's the line we all practice in the mirror, "I'm happy for you," and sometimes we even mean it. But there's a beat, a 2-second pause, where the sentence breaks your ribs on the way out. He zoomed in. And then out. And in again. Just long enough to torture himself with detail. He thought of the night a lifetime ago when they'd watched the city from a window and she'd said, "One day, we'll laugh about all this." He'd asked, "When?" She'd shrugged, "When we're brave." He hadn't been brave. Not then. Not when it mattered. You never realize the last time is the last time until it's far behind you, waving like a stranger. A friend called his name from across the lot, pulled him back. "You good?" He said yes. He wasn't. He shoved the phone in his pocket and went back to the lights, the marks, the lines. Acting is a miracle. You can be falling apart and still hit your cue. But the body knows. The eyes know. Between one take and the next, he felt the burn again, that treacherous heat at the edges of sight. He blinked hard, looked up, pretended the sun was the problem. He remembered a night behind a closed door when she'd said, "If you ever cry, I'll be there." Not to fix it. Just to hold it with you. He endured so much by being the strong one that he'd forgotten strength can look like letting someone see you break. But fame is a room full of mirrors, and every crack becomes a headline. He couldn't give them that. Not again. Not with her name attached. Hours later, after the wrap, the crew drifted home and the city turned gold. He drove without destination, the kind of driving that keeps your hands busy so your mind can scream. A red light caught him near a small side street he hadn't seen in months. He knew every brick, every balcony, every tree on that street. He parked. He shouldn't have. He got out anyway. On the corner, somewhere between courage and cowardice, he took the phone out and scrolled. Photos. Memories. The famous ones and the ones no one knew existed, the blurry hallway pictures, the ridiculous selfies with half faces and full hearts. He typed again, "Can we talk?" He erased it. He typed, "I saw the photo." He erased that faster. He typed, "Are you happy?" He hated himself for typing it. He erased it and shook his head. A laugh broke out of him, a single, desperate sound with no humor in it. He sat back in the car, closed his eyes, and let the silence ask the question for him. If she is happy, are you strong enough to let her stay that way? The answer arrived on the breeze, the faintest trace of her perfume, or maybe memory playing tricks again. He opened his eyes and, without meaning to, looked up toward the windows he knew too well. A light flicked on. The oldest muscle memory tugged at his chest. No, he told himself. Don't do this. Don't be that man at the wrong window, on the wrong night, holding the wrong truth. He should have driven away. He didn't. He stayed just long enough to see a shadow move across the glass and hear his own heart betray him with a thud so loud it felt like someone else's footsteps. He turned the key, put the car in drive. Eyes stung. He blinked hard and the world doubled, then cleared. He told himself it was the exhaust, the evening air, anything but what it really was. He didn't cry. Not yet. He'd grown too good at not yet. But as he pulled out, his headlights swept across a corner bulletin board. A poster of her newest project, a smile he recognized, a strength he'd always admired. He opened the window, just a little, and said to the wind, "I'm proud of you." No one heard. Sometimes the most honest things we say are the ones we allow to float away. And then his phone lit up, her name this time, not a photo, not the past, not a maybe. Just her. Calling. He exhaled, answered, and in the space before either of them spoke, he felt it, the first tear he couldn't hide. Hey. Only one word, and somehow it held years. He didn't realize he'd pulled the car over until he felt the gravel under his tires. Hey, he said back, and the hush on the line told them both the truth, there was nothing casual about this. I won't keep you, she began, the way people do when they mean the opposite. I saw something today and I thought. No, that's not why I called. Her voice found its center, and he closed his eyes to listen with the rest of him. I wanted to ask if you're okay. He almost lied. It would have been easier. But their history didn't accept easy answers. He stopped. The word wouldn't come. He pressed his thumb into the steering wheel, grounding himself in something solid. I'm trying, he said at last. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full of years, of good scenes and bad exits, of laughter so real it made cameras jealous, of nights where honesty was the only thing they had, and days where honesty was the one thing they couldn't afford. "I heard your voice in Rome," she said softly. He blinked, confused. "Voicemail," she added. "You didn't say anything, but I heard you listening." "I could tell." He swallowed. Rome, again. The city that insists on ruins and beauty coexisting, side by side, unapologetic. He thought about saying he was sorry. He thought about saying he had reasons. He thought about begging the past to be kind. "It's not about sorry," she said, like she'd learned to read his mind years ago and never forgot how. "I just needed to know you're there." The word again. There. The lighthouse. The seat left open. He felt the heat build behind his eyes, that warning flare that says, "Not now." He breathed slow, but breath can only do so much when a heart decides to be honest. "I saw the photo," he admitted. "I shouldn't have, but I did." A pause. Then a small laugh from her, surprised, not cruel. "You think I don't look at yours?" she asked. "We're both guilty." He exhaled something like relief. For a second, they were just two flawed people telling the truth in the dark. "Are you happy?" The question escaped before he could cage it. A long beat. "Some days," she said. "Some days, I remember we promised to be brave, and I'm proud of us. Other days, I'm just human." She didn't say more. She didn't have to. Humanness is the confession we spend our whole lives editing. He leaned his head back, let the leather hold him. "I'm proud of you," he said. "I always have been." He heard her breath catch, not dramatic, just real. And that was it, the one small shift that undid all his training. The tear formed, slow as a truth you can't deny, heavy as regret. He blinked it back. Another came anyway. The first one fell, quiet, a clean line down a face that spends half its life pretending under perfect light. He turned his head, wiped it fast, as if she could see. "Can," she said softly, a name that knew too much. "You don't have to pretend with me." He almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because the irony was enormous. The one person he'd always trusted with his unedited self was, once again, the only witness to his undoing. He let the second tear fall. Then a third. He didn't sob. He just leaked the truth. "After a while," she said, "do you want to meet? Not to fix anything. Just coffee. 2 people. 1 table. No script." He felt the offer like a sunrise, gentle, golden, a little terrifying. "Tonight?" he asked before his fear could argue. "Tonight," she said. He wiped his face with the back of his hand, straightened up, checked the mirror, and almost smiled at the redness in his eyes. Evidence. Not weakness. Proof that he was alive. He put the car in gear, turned toward a street he knew too well. The city hummed, the hour softened, and for the first time in months, he felt the future as something other than a rumor. He was 5 minutes away when a message lit the screen, her name, 1 line, running late. 10 minutes. 10 minutes was nothing. 10 minutes was a lifetime. He parked near the cafe, stepped out, and felt the world tilt into possibility. He didn't see the camera at first. He didn't hear the click. He only felt the cool air on his damp cheek and the small relief of finally letting the secret out where it could breathe. The flash came after, the world's reminder that nothing, not even honest tears, belongs only to you. And what happened when that photo hit the timelines, the headlines, the ruthless scroll? That is where the real story begins. The photo didn't wait. It never does. By morning, it was everywhere, screens, headlines, whispers turned into shouts. Can Yaman breaks down in tears. Who was he thinking of? The world pretended it was shocked, but secretly it had been waiting. People love the strong man, but they love him more when the armor cracks. Can scroll through the chaos, jaw tight.